Welcome back to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, President of Corporate Audio Visual Services, and it is a pleasure to be back once again. Last week, we had a very authentic and inspirational discussion with Maria Trusa of Forme Medical. She's really an amazing person, so if you get a chance, go back and watch the episode. This week, we have another spectacular guest, because that's all we have here is spectacular guests, and we're probably going to have a little bit of fun, too. But before we meet our guests, let me just remind everybody how they can find us and where you can find us, which is on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every Wednesday, 1 p.m. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And look, if you're watching live, drop us a comment, be a part of the show. We'd like to have you on the show. If you miss anything, just go back. We keep everything on our YouTube channel, all 114 other episodes. And look, if you miss everything afterwards, my friend Alexis is probably going to post a few little shark bites on there on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So, I mean, who does not want to see us in all those places? I mean, that just sounds incredible. But I know you're not here for me, so let's get right to it. Let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. Bob Knight is the president and CEO of Harry, an integrated marketing agency headquartered in Armonk, New York. Harry is the dominant agency in the fields of telecommunications, infrastructure, healthcare, senior living, SaaS, and crisis reputation management. Under Bob's leadership, Harry is transforming the agency experience with significant investments in digital marketing, animation, artificial intelligence, high-quality content, PR, and strategy. During his tenure as CEO, Harry has become the fastest-growing marketing agency in both Westchester County and in the broadband industry nationally. Bob's visionary leadership was honored recently, landing him spots in the last two of City and State's Westchester Power 100 list. Bob is considered the nation's leading expert in community and stakeholder engagement for fiber broadband deployments and is known even more for his robust sense of humor and his carpool karaoke social media series. Now, doesn't this sound like a fun person? So listen, please welcome Bob Knight.
Well, I think I would mess with an audiovisual guy, right?
Don't you use your broadband humor jokes on
I've been trying to prank you for Joe. Connection. Thanks for having me on. Great to see you.
It's a pleasure. Now, fortunately, you come from a whole radio and broadcast background, so you know what those things sound like.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us, how did you get into radio?
Yeah, it was completely by accident. I went to Ithaca College and I wanted to be a television news reporter. I was really into the, political stuff, conventions and whatnot. And I was pledging a fraternity. I went to get my pledge book signed. One of the fraternity brothers was doing afternoon drive at the student station. And I sort of walked in and saw all the CDs there on the wall. And it was just so cool. And I was hooked from that moment on. And while I was in college, I actually got some part-time jobs at some big top 40 stations, Wink 106 in Elmira, but 93Q in Syracuse. That was my first sort of big break. And it led to a great career where I actually replaced Ryan Seacrest at K101 radio in San Francisco during afternoon drive. It was on billboards. It was wild time.
That's pretty cool. Are you going to be hosting the New Year's drop? I mean, what's going on?
Well, if I could stay up past about 9:30 on New Year's Eve, I'm old and forgetful now. So, but otherwise, no, it was a great time. And poor Ryan Seacrest, his career really never took off. Right? He's doing Wheel of Fortune now, I heard.
I don't know what he's doing, but I know he's a name that it's funny. He's a name that I know. And we were talking the other day. We came up with this great plan of we should try to figure out who would play us in a movie. And as we're going down the list, I don't know anyone. You would think I would because of the business where I don't know anybody. Right. I just don't pay any attention. It has to be like the biggest name for me to know someone. And I'm like, oh, well, that person I know. They're like, what about these people? I just don't know anyone.
Well, you get to a certain age. Like for me, it was in my early 40s where you start not to know the musical guests on Saturday Night Live. And then sort of like mid 40s, it's like you don't know neither the guest nor the host. And that's when you've transitioned to the white New Balances and, hang it up.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's a different time frame at this point, in a different cycle of life. You're
Sure.
probably. Thanks for bringing that up, though.
You got it, bud.
Real bell. But look, this has been like 2 months in the making to get you here. So I'm really excited. But listen, I know you started in radio, but how did you get into the whole PR side?
So it's kind of an interesting story. So the radio industry was going through some vast changes in the early 2000s, and as you can recall, the iPod came out before the iPhone, and satellite radio had been on the scene, and so listeners were starting to gravitate more towards those technologies where you could listen to whatever you wanted to, and you didn't have to suffer through 6, 7, 8 minutes worth of commercials at a time. And so I didn't feel that the radio industry had really a response to the new technologies of the iPhone or the iPod and satellite radio. So I was starting to look for some other things. And at that time, we used to be called Harrison Edwards. We're now Harry. Carolyn Mandelker, who many know is my mother, she was running the agency. And she needed a little bit of assistance on a national advertising campaign. And so she asked me for some help, and I freelanced with her. And I never had any intent of joining the company. It's not a family-run business, but we really kind of liked working together. And we're sort of cut from the same cloth the way we approach marketing challenges. And about a year later, decided, hey, maybe it's time to make the move and join the company. And it's been great. That was 2005. Here we are almost 20 years later.
That's a pretty great story. By the way, I had no idea that was your mother until like a year ago.
Well, that was sort of by design, Joe, believe it or not, right? Because, we don't have the same last name. We do in real life. This Bob Knight was actually a radio air name that was given to me many years ago. I've actually never liked the name, but I just thought, let's keep it professionally. Let's not, I never wanted like nepotism to really factor into I had a whole career right before joining the company. And I just didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want people looking at me like, it's the boss's son. So, I always called her Carolyn. She called me Bob, and which isn't my name. And it just sort of stuck. And I think people sort of figured out. The funny story is when my son, he was still in a car seat, and my father came to the office. He was going to babysit my son. And so he had to borrow my car. I had like this Subaru at the time, I remember. And he swapped car keys because you know what it's like getting a car seat from one car into another.
Yes.
Right? So he took my car. It was a stick shift. It was funny watching him drive that. And he drove off with it. And our receptionist came back to my office in a panic. Bob, Mr. Mandelker, he just took your car. I said, oh, okay, it's all right. And that's how the secret started to trickle out. It was a funny moment.
Who knew that would be the key moment, when the secret starts to be exposed?
But, the interesting thing is that the family roots kind of stick, even though we're not a family-run company, because the name Harry, our new name, we rebranded earlier this year, and you guys, Corporate AV, helped us with that, and we're a really core part of the team that helped us rebrand, and we're internally thankful. But the name Harry actually comes from my great-grandfather, who is a Russian immigrant, and his spirit is alive today, right? He came over here. He didn't know the language. He was 17 years old, and he learned English, and he worked like 3 jobs in sweatshops. And he always said, you have to, if the door closes in your face, you have to climb in through the window. And so we've always done that with our media placements. We've always just gotten the job done. We've always figured it out. And so, as we shorten the name from Harrison Edwards to Harry, that spirit really is alive. And so it's kind of a nice connection to the past.
Well, I certainly see that you have the Harry branding, the new branding behind you.
Well, I mean, we are a marketing agency, so we would have to have the branding. Yeah.
And, I do remember that launch party, and you guys had that branding everywhere. It was
everywhere. Yep. You can see over Ben's head, their little logo squares or whatever. Oh, I see your branding's in the top right corner too. Yeah.
Well, that's only on the show, though. That's not in the picture.
Well, we want to do it a little bit differently, right? We didn't want to do it in a hotel, so we rented out a gallery in White Plains, had 100 or so folks, our closest friends and colleagues, and it was just a fun evening.
Absolutely. Well, I think that I get the sense that that's part of who the new brand is that it's got a little more of a fun, different vibe to it overall. But why don't you tell everybody, where did Harry Integrated Marketing come from, and where are you going with it?
Yeah, so I mean, the company, always sort of had a very formal feel. And, what has carried over into the new brand is that, we're smart, we're strategic, we're passionate, we're effective. But it's so much more than public relations, right? We are now truly an integrated marketing agency. So, animation, video, creative services, you have to have all that in this day and age. If you think about in Westchester County, the media landscape, right? Journal News is like a shell of what it used to be. News 12, has a few reporters here and there. I think a friend of mine used to work at Channel 2 in the city. On the weekends, they only had one or two crews to cover the entire tri-state area. So it's our job still to get the message out. It's our job still to get, our clients' points of view across, or to sell a product or a service or a good. So we have to figure out a way to do that if the media is not available or there isn't enough space. So leveraging things like social media, leveraging things like advertising, digital marketing. We have a full team. We're nearly 20 people. We were very small. We were about 6 people for the longest time, and we've tripled in size, tripled in revenue. It's been a really nice run so far in the last couple of years.
Well, that's good. I mean, I've seen you guys everywhere, and especially in the last few years, more so. And obviously, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it before coming on. We probably worked together for like 15 years or something.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, we did a lot of county.
But all of a sudden, you guys are everywhere. And being at the branding party, of course, I saw a lot of familiar, clients that we work with as well. I'm like, I had no idea you worked with Harry. This is really great. Okay, this is cool.
Well, I guess I wouldn't say we're the best kept secret, because we're not a secret, but we probably should do more self promotion, in Westchester, because you're right, we're everywhere. We have amazing clients here in the county and in the region. We're not the ones to put ourselves in every photo, with our clients and whatnot. We just want to go out and we just want to have fun. We want to do our job. And, we've talked about this before. I think people like to do business with people whom they like and who they trust and you have a relationship with. And business is all about relationships. So, for us, being stuffy, that's not our personality. We just want to have fun and we want to do a good job. And our clients really appreciate the strategy. They really appreciate, the quality of the work, but really they like to have fun with us too. And so we just have a ball together.
Yeah, well, that's great. And that's exactly what people want. It's funny because one of the things that used to come up, we'd do these little surveys. We'd ask, hey, what do you like? What are the things you want to improve on? You'd get all these answers like, well, we really like, the type of music you guys play when we're setting up. It's just so much more upbeat and fun. I'm like, is that a thing? Like, I'm like, all right, that's pretty easy. We'll keep doing that. But you just never know. But it is all about that connection.
Right.
And I definitely see you guys, excelling in that kind of environment.
Well, we have so many different personalities here, right? With 20 people, we're certainly one of the larger agencies in Westchester County. And you have a diverse group of personality, but most people have a sense of humor. Some people may have smaller senses of humor. And those are the people who I just really focus in on. I love Lisa Buckman, my executive vice president. Everyone knows Lisa. Everyone loves Lisa. I will barge into her office, and she's got a good sense of humor, but she's very focused. She's very type A, and I'm very not. So I'll barge right into her office, like bashing like pots and pans and stuff like that. She gets so annoyed with me, but it's funny. We all have a good time. We all have a good laugh. We're all good.
I think that's the right thing to do for her. I'm sure she appreciates that.
Well, like for instance, someone threw in Teams, earlier that the sponge in the kitchen was smelling moldy, so they ordered new sponges, and they're like, well, I may not be the George Washington or the FDR of sponge ordering, but a lot of people say that, so I'll embrace it. Like it's just we just have a good time, and we try to be creative in everything we do.
Well, I have noticed that you certainly have the market cornered on one thing in particular.
Oh,
and I think that is carpool karaoke.
Yes.
which I never heard of before. Uh, and I have a little clip, and maybe you can walk us through this thing. I mean,
Sure.
this seems to be your latest development of the series, so let's play it.
Okay. So
Backseat
we call it
driver.
backseat driver now, right? And so here we are with Fiona Dogan is one of our clients. We do it with clients and non-clients. Just we try to find interesting people, and we take a drive around. We tape a bunch of these, and we talk to them about what motivates them in business, how they've been successful, and some of the stories that people tell are hilarious. Like Fiona told a story. She's one of the top residential realtors in Westchester County. She was in someone's house and she found a statue. She said, "Oh, this looks really cool." She held it up. It was someone's Oscar. And of course, the sign said, "Please do not touch the Oscar." So it's like fun stories like that. How this all originated was on business trips. Sometimes your clients become, some of your best friends. And a client of ours, Kim McKinley, who's literally become one of my best friends in the world. We were on a road trip. We were somewhere out west, driving between sites that they had, offices they had, and a song came on, and we were like delirious in like hour 4 or 5 of the trip, and we just started lip syncing to the whatever song was on the radio, and she, just started recording it, and it got like a ton of engagement. We're like, oh, well, this is a fun way to stand out on LinkedIn on a business trip, right?
Absolutely.
And it's just morphed. We just did one this past weekend in Wyoming. One of our clients was in the Wyoming International Film Festival, which is a feeder for Sundance, with a documentary that we helped produce. And so, country music, and we did a Oak Ridge Boys Elvira, which was a lot of fun. That's an old throwback. So that's
very cool
right now.
And so where are these running?
They're all on LinkedIn. I haven't really delved into Instagram. I think, you right, as a marketer, right, you want to be where people are not. So LinkedIn, a lot of people do a lot of self-promotion. It can be a little bit dry. And so we looked at it and said, let's take the business trip and turn it on its head. And that's what we've done with the carpool karaoke. And now, for the Westchester market, I think we wanted to reinvest in those relationships. And so we've called it Backseat Driver, where we're actually interviewing people and really getting to know people at a different level, people whom we might see at business events and out and about in the stores. And yeah.
I love it. It's very cool. It's innovative. It's something different. I'm not seeing it anywhere. And those are always things that we're looking for because of the creative side of our work and trying to keep on that edge of ideas. And I love that. I started laughing every single time. I've been laughing.
Well, you need to give me dates. We'd love to get you in the car.
All right, we'll get some dates, and I'll wear my finest threads for this ride.
We'll even clean out all my daughter's scrunchies and paraphernalia from the car, so it's nice and clean for you.
I mean, it looks like a 2-camera shoot. Is it a 2 cameras? Like, what are we doing?
It is a 2-camera shoot now, right? We've got the GoPros. We do all sorts of shots. Our digital team, we have in-house digital, in-house video, and they're on it, and it's just fun. They want to do something fun in the back seat, like turn it into an office. Like one of the shoots, I think we had plants in the back. We're trying to get a whiteboard into the car. That's a little out there for me. I just want to keep it to the interview and to the music. But if they want to have some fun with it, I want them to own it and enjoy it too.
Well, I think you're taking the services that, you can apply to your clients. You're showcasing them in a different way and having them think differently. And while having fun. I think that's pretty great.
Thanks, Joe.
Well, I'm on your team here, so I'm
Team
all
Harry.
for it. Team Harry, yes.
Well, we got to get you in the car one of these days, yeah.
So,
wow. Episode 115. Did you know that 115 is a lucky number for me?
I didn't know that. Why is it a lucky
one of my
number
favorite numbers, Joe?
But why?
I just made it up, Joe.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 115.
I feel like I should go now.
I would hate if you left.
All right, I won't take myself off screen then. But you mentioned some of the services that you're handling with the clients, which is a lot in the digital realm. And I see you guys involved in broadband. Could you tell me a little bit about that part? Because I don't really know exactly your role in the broadband, but I know you guys are experts in it in some way. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because our Westchester clients are always like, "Well, Bob, you're here today," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." I spend a lot of time on the road because broadband is about 66-70% of our revenue. It's about a third of our client base, but it's pretty lucrative, and it's pretty high stakes right now. There's $42 billion getting pumped from the infrastructure bill into broadband and broadband expansion. We in the Northeast have pretty good broadband service. The rest of the country, it really stinks in the Midwest and particularly out West. So I'm on a lot of airplanes pursuing a lot of broadband business, working with a lot of clients. And, through this, I've been at it, nearly 10 years in the broadband space.
Wow.
It used to be just me, but the team, we've really become really among the nation's leading experts in the space because we have to know the subject to communicate it on behalf of our clients. So we're asked to speak everywhere. We're going back and forth. It's like, where am I going this week? Where am I going next week? But it's such an interesting space because it's infrastructure. And broadband, people think, okay, it's just internet, it's connecting people, but it's much more than that. It's infrastructure, it's financial, it's political. It has all the intrigue. It's true economic development. And at our hearts, we're real economic developers. I mean, sure, we do a ton of work in healthcare. We do a ton of work in senior living with nonprofits, general business, real estate, both commercial and residential. Here in Westchester and the environs. But broadband is what we're most well known for, just simply because we're just so high profile nationally in that industry. And I would say, about half of our team is dedicated particularly to the local market. So Lisa Buckman, who many of you know, and Julia Emmerich, they run that business for us. And Julia and I also run the broadband business. And the team is sort of split half and half on the communication side. In terms of creative services, our design teams, our marketing team, they work on everything, and they like that because one second they're doing an ad for beautiful senior living, come here for assisted living, and the next second they're doing some quirky ad for gamers out in Utah or California, or a taco truck meetup in California. And it's so cool, the variety of what we get to do. But I also, Joe, I think it's interesting because we get to see the nation, we get to see what other people are doing across the nation, right, and bring that back to Westchester, bring back some outside ideas, more cutting, and that's what we're known for, more cutting edge ideas and executions. So it keeps us fresh too.
No, that's a big deal. I mean, honestly, because it's very easy to get kind of locked into your own little world, right? And you need to see what other people are doing.
I think that's sort of been the challenge for Westchester County. I mean, look, we're a stone's throw from New York City, sort of the center of the world financially, and you can make the argument culturally. But as a business community, we tend to be a little more insulated, and we tend to sort of, tap the same well time and time again. And, times have changed. Society has changed. The needs of consumers, the needs of businesses, they've changed. And so, if you're not changing, you're dying. In business, you have to be like a shark, right? And I mean this in a good way. You have to always be swimming and always sleep with your eyes open. And that's what we have to do. So I think that the businesses in Westchester that are really thriving, they're doing new things. They're innovating. They're not doing the same old cookie cutter stuff over and over again. And that's success. I mean, look at you. You got a podcast, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a podcast now, but
everyone's got a podcast.
But they don't have your favorite number though, 115.
115. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I had a conversation at I was at a different networking event last night, something that I hadn't really attended too much in the past. But I did see someone I knew, and we were having some discussions, and I really hadn't talked to this person much since prior to COVID. And, we're kind of joking around. I said, we had to change everything immediately. And we did, right? And a lot of people made major changes in the 1.5, 2 year time period. I said, but man, as soon as we got out of that, all of our clients closed the door to that world and immediately went back to what they were doing prior to that. So we were talking about our streaming, and while we're streaming almost everything at the same time when it comes to the corporate side, that's not the case with the other elements of our business. They like shut the door on it immediately and want nothing to do with it. And they're like, wait a minute, we have to pay for internet, like they close it down right away. But it's amazing. I'm like, but this is the same show as 5 years ago. Why are we doing that? People don't want the same show as 5 years ago. And people they want the same, like they just want to go back to what they did. I'm like, no, you can't close the door. It didn't go away.
No. And when you're putting together an event, it's gotta be an experience. It's gotta have sizzle. It's gotta be visual. It's gotta carry on social media, right? You want people to share the event, both before, during, and after, on their social channels. So, doing some event at the Westchester Marriott, with a dais and, rubber chicken dinner doesn't cut it anymore. And people aren't going to come out to it. We're so strapped for time as adults. We're pulled in so many different directions. So, to get people to come out, it's got to be exciting. There's got to be a hook. Right. There's got to be, something that's really visually appealing about it, right? And people forget about that. The audio's got to be great. There's got to be, it's entertainment. People need to be entertained, even at a business event. And I'm not talking about you have to have, singers fly in on, a trapeze. It's not like you're having Pink in concert, but there's got to be some entertaining element. There's got to be a draw. And if you're not doing that, you're missing the boat. And I think you're better off doing fewer events but bigger and more impactful. But also the smaller events with Joe, also to sort of fill in between. But I think if you're going to do something, do it with purpose, make it meaningful.
Well, I think that doing it with purpose and making it meaningful is really important. And that's like half of our conversations now. Whereas prior, I think we were thought of as only logistics, like, hey, this is what I need to get done. Okay. And then that changed a lot, during those 5 years. And we're like, we could probably help you in more than just logistics if you want to listen, and that perspective changed. But boy, people still, they got to change a little. Like they're so stuck, in their routines. Yeah. They just got to be open to it because
it's generational.
There's a lot of competition.
Yeah. The older generations really do like in person. The younger generations, they're like, oh my God, I have to talk to somebody, and it's everyone's sort of in betweens going, this is a mess. Right. And that's the workforce today. Like we are a hybrid work environment, and we plan to be forever. Right. We're in the office Mondays and Wednesdays, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we're remote. It's working out great for us. We get the in-person meetings and that collaboration. But, different demographics want different things. And you see that spill into the event world as well, too. Some people want these media events. Some people just, they don't want to, they got so used to working remotely. They don't want to see people. It doesn't jive with them. So you have to have a little something for everyone where people can take something away.
No, I agree. And that's, you guys were really probably one of the first groups that I was aware of that had people working remote, like, long before. And I think that's interesting. Did that start from the broadband side just due to the physical location, or how did you guys get started on that?
No, it began in 2009 for us. We opened an office in Memphis. One of our VPs, her husband was an executive with FedEx and got transferred. And, she didn't want to leave. We didn't want to lose her, and went there. We actually had a book of business in Memphis, which was, hey, why not? Good barbecue. Right. And it actually worked very, very well. We make sure that that people are in on a regular basis, and we do have individuals here who work remote full time, but the deal is once a month they need to be in Armonk, and in working with a team, because you start to dehumanize each other, when it's on Zoom or on Teams, right? And so you do want to have that human connection, and those those dynamics, those interpersonal dynamics are so important in the business world. We're in a relationship business, and we have to have relationships with each other as well as our clients.
And how do you find that as far as managing that? Is it easier, harder? Is it just different skills?
We hire adults. My thing is that we hire people whom we trust, who are going to do a good job. I don't sit there, with a stopwatch saying this or that. If you're working remotely, you have the flexibility to, go drop your car off for an oil change, or, throw in a load of laundry. And if you have to start at 9:30 one day because there's something going on with a kid, I know you're going to make that time up. And we trust our employees, and they feel it, and they've never given us a reason not to trust them. And if they do give us a reason not to trust them, they don't work here anymore. And that's just the way it works. Some of our younger employees, sometimes, they forget those meetings first thing in the morning, so that the hair maybe not like perfectly coiffed or whatever, when people are like off camera.
Yes.
Actually, this is funny. During the pandemic, we had a new hire. She was relatively young, and she liked to party a lot, and she'd come on camera. She's long gone for many years, but she would kind of come on camera like racing on, like, and she'd have it set up in her bedroom, and the bed wasn't made, and it was a nightmare. That was kind of funny, but we've all had those laughs.
Yeah, everybody has their ups and downs,
Now Lisa is going to be, Bobby, I can't believe you told that story.
I mean, that you refrained from the names. Everyone's innocent. It's okay.
From the names, and it could have been a male. I could have said she to throw you off. I should have said they. Anyone. I should have said they. I should have gone a neutral pronoun, and then nobody would have known.
You're absolutely right. Well, but I think you guys have got this great vibe and culture. Is that something that you've worked on intentionally, or did it just kind of happen?
I appreciate that question. The most important thing that I do as the head of the company is to set the culture and the vibe. The culture is the most important thing. I take care of our team, my executive team, and they take care of their teams. And then everyone takes care of the clients. My number one job is to take care of our team and to set the culture, make sure it's fun. And I travel a lot, and sometimes I come back and it's a little quiet and a little stuffy around here. So, we'll turn on some music, or I'll go to among the younger, the Gen Zers of the team, and start joking around with them, vibing with them, and just keep spirits up. We have to protect our culture. And in fact, I'm having a meeting with our executive team tomorrow because, I felt that, maybe they're not meeting with their teams enough and, fostering that sense of camaraderie. So, I'm scheduling a meeting specifically for that. And I think that's really been a key ingredient to our success in the last few years.
No, I believe that 100%. It's because I found over the course of time, here with our team, we've always had really interesting people. It's the nature of what we do. Right. Most of our team comes from some sort of creative background, whether it's theater or music or art or photography. Every single person has some sort of creative background. And way back, this is how I figured this out, because it took, I'm an idiot, so it took me a little while. I had to learn the hard way. I had hired this guy. Man, he was terrible. He was a super good guy. I don't know how it came up one day. I'm like,
we've all been there, Joe. We've all been there.
He mentioned something about TV. I'm like, hey, what kind of TV you have at home? He said something about black and white TV. I'm like, I blew it. I hired the wrong dude. I realized that, wow, as you look through the crowd, there are a lot of similarities. And so we've always had a really interesting group and people that kind of jive really well together. But then I realized, I think we got to be more intentional about this. So it took a number of years. And, now we have a little internal team that tries to kind of just make sure we're on point with everything. And culture's really important to us now.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what you did, which was very smart, is you seem to always cast an opening at corporate AV. So the folks that we work with at Corporate AV, they're nice people, they're interesting people, and most people in your world sort of fade into the background, right? But intentionally, right? Black t-shirt,
Hmm.
black pants, you're supposed to be in the background. But even as people who are working in the background, they're there, they're present, they're engaged. I've been to so many events in the last couple of years where like the mics aren't potted up, when people go to speak, or the lighting's wrong, or the slides don't start. You guys are like always on top of that. Like those details matter. Like your guys are like Mo's like family, like who's worked for you for a long time. Like
Oh,
you guys
yeah.
are the best of the best, and it shows. That's the culture that you've established.
Well, thank you for noticing. I mean, we have a lot of discussions about it. So we talk about things all the time. We have our own training, it comes up in another month. And, but it's all about all those little things because we know who our clients are and we know what they need. And so we try to just put the efforts toward those portions. And there's always things, like we were talking about earlier, the market kind of dictates certain things. We're less likely to be on the ultimate cutting edge because our clients don't really look to us for that. They look to us for reliability,
Mm.
for consistency, for a certain hand holding. Like we know what they're looking for. So we tend to steer away from something that's unproven because that's just not what they see. Like, that we have to bring them new ideas, but it's got to be proven already. We're not the testing ground. Our clients are not the testing ground. So,
Right.
but
And that's the Westchester marketplace, right? So
mhm.
the more corporate clients, they're very conservative and they innovate with best practices, right?
Yes.
Where smaller clients, maybe startups, they're more nimble, they've got an axe to grind, they're ready to go. That the vibe is their brand, right? And so you've got to be out on top of things and you've got to perfect something that's new and innovative and exciting. And I think that was cool. You and I have worked on or I should say our teams have with the Westchester County Association for years. And I think one of the things that was so compelling to me about working with the county association over the years is that it was a very conservative group of business people years ago. And, under Bill Mooney and certainly under, Michael Romita, they want to mix it up. And they're like, no, we
Mhm.
want new technologies. We want innovation. We want, business needs to be cutting edge and we need to be there. And I think that's really exciting instead of the usual, like, we're here, here's rubber chicken, here's an award. And, I mean, look,
Yeah.
everyone, honors Robert Weiss, right? I mean, like, what a great guy, but, you can innovate him in different ways. You can honor him in different ways. And I think that's the exciting part.
Well, I always liked the way you guys kind of looked at the big picture and you were really focused on the programming, which I don't really see a lot of groups that are similar delve into that. They may focus on the logistics, but not really on the programming. Like, hey, we need to bring someone in. We need to do something different. Let's look at different markets. And I always appreciate that because I thought it was super interesting. If you're bringing somebody in from, I forget if it was Kansas City or someplace, it's a totally different market. But yet here's a new idea that's coming out of this market. And maybe we can adapt part of that and, make it ours in some way. And I always thought that was really interesting.
So I think the best example of that is in 2016, the county association put on a conference called the County of Tomorrow. They were looking for
Hmm.
what's next in economic development and ideas. And so our charge was, as you said, we're not looking at, let's give an award and let's do this. It's like, let's bring in interesting people who've done interesting things from around the country and around the world and tell us how they did it. And I think we brought in people from Tel Aviv, the Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, Research Triangle. And some of the things that were brought up in that conference, broadband was one of them, going, fiber optics, sustainability, move towards, mixed housing, not just high income, but, mix of incomes in a community, live, work, play, all those things that have really permeated the Westchester conversation in the last decade. A lot of them stemmed from that one event way back in 2016 that and you guys were really innovative with the set on that. I remember it was just really, really cool. So yes, if you look at it, we don't believe in marketing for marketing's sake, right? There's got to be there's a business need, right? You have to advance business. Your business goals are to get from point A to point B. The marketing supports that. So, what's the strategy behind the marketing to get you there? Oh, look at that. Yeah, that was 2016. Look at that. And look at the lighting. Like, no one was doing lighting like that in 2016. It was just kind of like, orange lights in the dais, right? There you had the white leather chairs. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we still use the picture and some different thoughts sometimes because it was a really cool event. But like
And
I
I don't
said,
want to live
everybody was thinking, like everybody's trying to think ahead, not just do the same thing.
and again, I don't want to live in the past. I mean, this was nearly a decade ago, but I haven't seen an event in Westchester County quite like that since anywhere. And again, it was just bringing together the thought leaders of the county to say, what can we do here? How can we change it? And I think it's going to be interesting. It looks like, George Latimer is going to Congress. I don't think the Republicans have anyone to run up against him, of consequence. So looks like, Ken Jenkins will be our next county executive. And, it's interesting to see how Ken has transformed from a guy who was sort of, on the outside, sort of looking in, when he was with the county legislature, to now he's going to be the county executive for all intents and purposes. And it's been interesting to see how he has grown into the role and how he views things. And I think you're going to see the county sort of shake up a little bit. I think you're going to see, a fresh take on the economy and how business is done, and lifting up people, and that always happens whenever you have a change. So I think you're going to start to see people looking at it and say, okay, we've been with Latimer for the last decade, and our economic development has been one way, and now here we are. We're on the precipice of sort of the next chapter, and so you might see more thinking, in that regard coming up, which is really exciting.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
I think, people they're always so fearful of change, but there's tremendous opportunity in change.
Yeah, I mean, you look what they've done. Like Bridget has brought together the biotech community. That's been one of the many things they've done. They've done some work on broadband. They've done a lot of data work. Natasha with film and tourism. I mean, that's become a huge economic driver for the county. Our friend Joan has done a phenomenal job running the operations of it. So we're really well poised for the next chapter. And I don't know who's going to continue on, or who stays, who moves on to their next opportunity. That always seems to happen, when you have an administration change. But I think we're really well positioned for the next 10 years. Going from George into Ken.
No, I agree. And I think it's going to be interesting. And, we'll find out soon, I guess.
We will.
Well, listen, we've talked a lot about business and work. What do you like to do outside of work?
Oh, gosh. I do a lot of cooking, love to travel, love to spend time with my kids. My son is a incoming junior at University of Utah, so I try and get out there and see him. And it's a great place to, Salt Lake City is a great place to visit. And the environs, we go hiking in national parks and stuff like that. So that's a lot of fun. And my daughter's into K-pop, which is like, but we all go through those phases, and just having a great time. I don't have a whole lot of time for myself when I do, because I travel so much. Sort of my house is like my oasis. So, I have a little John Deere tractor to mow the lawn and do the yard work. That's like my therapy. But I find joy in everyday things. I'm totally a boring person. But life is really good. So, yeah.
Well, that's excellent news. I mean, it's well deserved, and life is good. You're getting out of it what you're putting into it. So
yeah, I'm also dating a CEO of a similar sized company. So
I don't know if this is that kind of show.
Well, it's funny because like we'll ask each other advice and stuff like that. So it's nice to sort of have that backup there, and we can go home and bitch about, what happened in our day. And there's just an understanding. So that really helps. But,
I get it.
other than that, it's all good.
I love it.
Throw a
I
load
love
of
it.
wash
Well,
in.
I you got to do that every now and then,
I'll tell you what I did yesterday. Accidentally, the cleaning ladies left the top of the pine sol open, and somehow I knocked it. And it was throwing some sheets in. Half the thing of pine sol winds up in the washing machine. So the whole house smelled like Tide and pine sol, and I had to wash it like 2 or 3 times. But
well, I'd like to think that's better than some alternatives, but probably still pretty annoying.
serves me right from working from home yesterday.
Well, listen, Bob, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to getting a backseat driver. Is that what it's called these days?
Backseat driver.
All right. I'm looking forward to being a part of that one day. But
We'll do it.
listen, thank you so much for your time. You guys have so many great things going on at Harry, and we wish everyone the best of luck. And I would be remiss if I didn't say hello to Julia Emmerich.
Oh, she really runs the show, our chief operating officer. She just turns my head wherever it needs to go. And I do whatever Julia says. It's what's best for everyone.
Well, as a client of ours for many years, she kind of did that to us as well. So
She's tough.
We just did whatever she told us to do.
She's the best.
But I'll look and see. Everybody loves your team. I mean, we get comments all the time, but everybody loves your team.
And we love your team.
Well, listen, Bob, thank you very much. I'm going to let you get back to work. I'm sure you have a few things going on over there. So,
well, somebody brought in Girl Scout cookies, so we're about to go raid the kitchen.
All right, well, go hit the kitchen. I'm going to wrap this thing up.
Thanks for having me on. Great to see you.
You got it, man. We'll see you soon. Well, there you go. I mean, Bob Knight, CEO of Harry Integrated Marketing. Bob's a great guy, and they have lots of really cutting edge ideas, and they're just, they're all over the place right now. They just have so many cool things happening. So we're very happy to work with their whole team, and they just do a really nice job. But it's because they're looking at it differently, and I think that's intentional. So listen, let's wrap this thing up. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every Wednesday at 1 p.m. While you're there, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. You already dropped. We only got one comment today. You guys got to do better than that. I mean, we did our part. Now it's time for you to do yours. But look, anytime, just go back and watch the show and go to the YouTube channel and you can see everything. And then afterwards, of course, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Time for us to wrap up, everybody. I hope you have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.